I'll talk for a little bit about my encounter, my first encounter with Eaglewoman, Sara Eaglewoman. And it happened in a yoga center that doesn't exist anymore. Both of us were in that center, Nancy as well. It happened to be during the first circle that Eaglewoman conducted in the Golden Bridge Yoga Center. And it also happened to be just 5 days after my father died. And he died here at UCLA. So I felt very heavy at home and here because his spirit was still with me. So I come in and I was looking for something, a healing circle or healing, some kind of healing that would remove this heaviness that I felt. And so I come into the circle and there are about 35, 40 people. And the ceremony started, it's a circle and Nancy's drumming and everybody's, smudging. And she comes straight to me and says, "Is your father still walking this earth?" And I needed no more proof. And I said, "No, he just passed." And she started demonstrating healing techniques by releasing his spirit off of me. So he was wrapped all around me. And I felt much, much, much lighter, but I also never left Eaglewoman. So I studied with her for the past 12 years and learned a great deal about Native American traditions and ceremonies, especially around the death and dying and disease. And she helped me in the last year that I had breast cancer, actually. I had to see her almost every week. And she held me together and filled with light through all the treatments. So I'm ever grateful for everything that we've experienced together. Thank you.
My honor. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. As Dr. Helen said, my name is Sara Eaglewoman. Eaglewoman means she who flies the closest to the sun, which means I am a communicator, interpreter to the spirit world, creator, creation in our ways. I have Apache Cherokee blood running through me. So I'm my mother and also Toltec on my father's side. So I have the shaman traditions that I work with, and I am called a medicine woman. It's interesting, we were just talking about, well, what is your medicine? What do you do? What's your modality? Well, I'm a seer. I do see beyond the physical. So I have this gift. And this gift I came into this world with this gift. And I remember my grandmother saying, "You are the medicine. So wherever you go, you're going to bring the medicine to those in need." And the way that I do that is communicating with the soul. So they call me the soul doctor. I'm the doctor of the soul. Because I don't treat the disease, I don't go into see the disease first. I go right to the soul. So I communicate with the soul. I want to know, how did this disease come through? Asking the soul. And I'm guided by my grandmothers, my grandfathers, who still walk with me on this earth plane. And in our traditional ways, in the indigenous ways, there's a celebration, and of course with life, when a child is born, but also there's a celebration when you're on your transformational bed. I've been asked many times around the world to come and assist, to help others transport them into the spirit world. So I want to just share some of my experiences when asked. I go into the hospitals and the hospice, and as I said, I speak to the soul. And one of the things that I really noticed is that when I walk into a room, I can actually see the soul hovering over the conduit, the body. So I find that fascinating. I remember the first time that I walked into a hospital and I was asked to help this person make her transformation. And I said, okay, sure. I walked in, and I'm looking at the body, and the body's still, but I'm looking around her, and she's standing over her body. I thought, this is interesting, okay. So I'm communicating with the soul. And how do I communicate? Telepathic communication. So just like I'm speaking to you, they can hear me, of course, but it's a vibration. It's a vibration. It's not so much the words, but it's the vibration within. It's like the heart connection. You can feel the pulse. I can feel your heart. I can feel you. So we're communicating on that level in the indigenous ways. When I was 3 years old, my grandmother taught me the art of listening to vibration. Because I couldn't speak the languages so well, she said, listen to the vibration under words. So if you hear sound, that's why, our mantras are important. Or, you hear the vibration under words. I was taught, since I was 3, to listen to a person's vibration. It's not what they say, it's how they say it. So, I was a good listener. And that was my training. And little did I know she was teaching me the art of communicating beyond the physical, my intuition, to speak from the heart mind, but also to receive and feel the vibration, because truly, we are spirit first. We are spirit first. So when you address the soul, first and foremost, then the physical body shows up. And then you can look and you can see, assess, why does this person have the disease? What did you create here first? Because as I was told, that disease is even hovering in the soul grid before it enters the physical body. That's fascinating. It was fascinating to me. I can see soul grids. So I can see your soul grid. When I look out in the audience now, it's pretty interesting. It's like I'm an electrician. I'm a spiritual electrician. So even though I'm speaking, I'm working on each and every one of you. So that's what I do. I'm the medicine. And I've grown into that knowing, is that I am the medicine. So this is me, and this is me, my vibration. So I'm reaching each and every one of your souls, because the soul is recognizing, hey, you know what? This clicks. If you're coming from your intellect, your rational, analytical, your practical mind, that's beautiful. But something else is happening that your soul is recognizing within me. Like, hey, she's speaking something deja vu. I remember this before I was taught. Because when we come on the earth plane, we're taught other people's ideas. We go to school. We're taught from our peers, from our parents. We're taught. But we have a deep knowing that we came in with before we were taught language. Perceptions, somebody else's idea, the experience. So it's so best to always experience someone before you read about them. Experience. So it's about seeing beyond, like I said, I can see beyond the spirit realm. And to tell you the truth, the spirit realm is right here. It's this close. It's this close. The vibration, if you could feel vibration. And I feel in this room, most of you are very in tune to vibration. I sense it. I feel it. There I am. Again, I'm a feeler and I'm a seer beyond the physical. So what does the soul grid look like? It looks like electrical magnetic energy. It looks like, to me, the constellations. It can be very bright, or when somebody is very sick and ill, it looks like a blackout. It looks like, oh. And before the person tells me that they have a disease, I can see it. I can see that there's black. It looks to me like tar. black tar. And so Spirit, my council of elders of whom I work with, they say, okay, clean it up. Clean it up. So there's a joint communication, like working with Helen. You know, she's a strong woman. She's strong in her ways, and she's got a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And something happened to break down that barrier, that wisdom, something. And it could be family. It could be somebody, and most of the time it is family. I'll tell you, families are the ones that get to us the quickest. You know, you say, well, he makes me sick. My husband makes me sick. Yeah, I'll say, you can see it. He is sick, and you are sick because of him. Or my children, they're driving me crazy. Yeah, I'll agree with you, because I can see your electromagnetic field. I can see what it's doing. So it's like looking at an x-ray, or it's like doctors that are here, you know, you see the scans, PET scans, you see the scans, MRIs. I'm able to see the soul grid in that way. And, you know, I've gone under studies where scientists, they put these electronoids on me, or they put something on just to see, well, how does she function? Because, you know, that sounds kind of, you know, heejy-beejy kind of thing, you know. I want to see what this is all about. And I had a scientist work, and he put these noids on my brain. And he could see the waves, he could see, and he thought, this is really interesting. She has this alpha, you know, she's going into this trance state, and it feels like she's got this calming energy, and he couldn't figure it out. He said, this is really fascinating to me, that she and her blood pressure has dropped so low. Is she dead? What's going on? Because when I'm working on someone, my blood pressure does drop pretty low. Just like they studied me to think, well, this is like she's going into that spirit realm. I do travel. Eagle medicine is about traveling into those other dimensions. Many people come to me and say, well, is there life after death? Absolutely. I know this. I've had a near-death experience. It was a very, I fell off a horse, and I hit my head pretty bad. And my husband was there, and they thought for sure that I was crossing. And I'll never forget this. As my head hit the ground, and I was just like, the pain just left me. There's no pain. And I was actually floating. And immediately I had all these electrical lights surround me, like they enveloped me. All these sparkly lights. And I was just so like euphoric. I was really floating. And all of a sudden I feel this wham, a slap across my face. As if when a baby's being born, right? They slap the baby. It turns out it was my husband. Through his fear, he thought I was leaving. So he immediately brought me back to consciousness. And as soon as that happened, everything in my body ached. I was bleeding all over. I had all these gashes and open wounds, and I was in pain. It hurt so bad to come back to life. But it's worth it. Because life is precious, and it's the most wonderful experience, of course. And as my ancestors share with me, and they do share, and you know, your loved ones are always a part of your lives. Even though they are not here physically, they are here in spirit form. And it can be that they come in and out. But how do they come in and out? When you think of them. You know, when we leave, and as I had that time, that near-death experience, I was met, and you hear this, you know, you read about it, you think, yeah, right. And there's a lot of skeptics. I've worked on atheists that yeah, right, I don't believe in God, you don't have to believe in God. Just believe in the spirit that you, the soul that you carry, because your soul is wise. You know, that soul within teaches you about life, teaches you about death, teaches you about life after death. Because the soul is a continuum. The soul continues. Whether you believe in past lives, you believe in reincarnation, it doesn't matter. Because I, through my experience, know that there's a continuum. It's always a continuum. Working with so many people across the globe, I noticed this, that love survives death. It's amazing how love survives death. So I met with the master when I had my near death, and I was with this beautiful master. He was gorgeous. And I asked him all the questions that I could. And he had shared with me, you know, there isn't a God here that judges you. There isn't that type of what most people think. You're measured. I said, you're measured? What does that mean, you're measured? You're measured about the amount of love that you gave and the amount of love that you received. So you can imagine where Hitler is. It's true. I've actually seen where he is. And it's a spiral. Because think of it, it's a consciousness. You have a consciousness. We leave here with consciousness. And we transport to consciousness, to different planes, different levels. But love, if you're loved very strong, you have a legacy to leave behind to your loved ones. That legacy is what we want to leave, because that's going to be your greatest transporter to the other side. So it's what you do here on this earth plane, what you do, how much compassion, how much love you gave unconditionally, and how much love you received. There's a lot of people that have a very hard time receiving love. So when you have and you receive this love, it actually excels you to, and there are different dimensions, by the way. It's not just hell and heaven. There are so many different dimensions. Through my experience, I've seen it. People ask me, well, what is it like to die? And when I'm in the hospital or hospice, holding somebody's hand, speaking to them, they're afraid. I had this one person say, I'm really afraid. I don't know where I'm going. I said, don't worry. That's what I'm here to do. I shapeshift, truly. My spirit shapeshifts into eagle medicine. So I'm able to take the person into the place where they need to go. It's like, truly, get on my wings, let's go. And there's comfort in that. There's comfort in knowing that you're going to be escorted. So I'm their spiritual bodyguard. It's like, come on, let's go. And I could see just a relief in their beingness that they're able to release. The hardest thing is having family in the room. I've had clients and patients tell me, can you please ask my loved ones to leave the room? I just want to be here with you. I said, sure. So that's a hard one. Excuse me, but your wife, you know, she wants you to leave the room. Or the children. Your mom really wants this time. And they fight me. But I said, it's her wish. So when we're alone, it's interesting how much they want to reveal, how much they want to release about their life, about what they've done, their regrets. I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have been with that person more. You know, there's so much that happens. So I reassure them that they'll be able to come back in spirit form to help their loved ones. That's so comforting to know. That once you leave this dense body, this vehicle that we're in, that you can actually come back to help your loved ones. It's happened so many times. So many times, my uncle, he's an Apache warrior, and when he was making his transition, he asked me to sit with him to be in the hospital, and he said, do you see the guardians that are there waiting to take me? I said, yes, I see them. And he says, okay, I want you to smudge the room. Come on, where's your eagle feather? So I got my eagle feather out, and he said, okay, get to work. So I smudged the room. First I got permission from the nurse's station, and I said, sure, do your ritual, do your tradition, your ceremony. My uncle wanted me to perform a ceremony in the hospital, and which I did. My husband and I were there. So I did. I gave him his blessings, and he spoke in Apache, Chiricahua, and I understood what he was saying. He said, I'm ready to release my spirit from this vehicle. So, of course, I was emotional because I love my uncle and I'm attached, and he's my teacher. He taught me a lot of the ways. But I knew that I couldn't be selfish. I knew that it was time for him. He wanted to make his ascension. So I was there to support that and to help him, of which I did. And as I was going through it, he says to me, go smudge all the other rooms around here. And I said, but Uncle, they might get offended, or, that's not their culture. And he says, just do it. They could use it. So I went and I asked permission. Excuse me, but can I smudge you? And they said, yes, please. They were also open to it. So I did it. The interesting thing that I discovered, the reason why he asked me that, is because he knew that he wanted me to balance the vibration. Because when you're in that state of grace, I call it in between, the space in between the physical and the spirit. When you're in that place, you're so susceptible, you're so open to receive. It's like you can expand, you're expanding, and you can feel everything. And you can see through the walls. You can see other people, you can hear sounds, everything becomes ultra sensitive. So what he was saying to me is, can you please adjust the frequency in this hospital? Because the energy, I'm not going to be able to soar out of here. So it's interesting in hospitals. I don't really like going to hospitals, but if I'm asked to, or hospice, because the energy is it's very dense. It's thick. It's really thick for me, because I'm an ultra sensitive. So walking in the hospital, being in the hospital, interesting. I get all of these souls that come out to me. These spirits that say, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you take me? Can you help me? So of course, that's who I am. I am the medicine. Of course I'm going to help you. I never refuse, because that's my purpose, is to be here, medicine woman, shaman, to help those that need to be transformed. And I don't only help those to transform into the spirit world. I help you transform while you're here in your physical. New life, new beginnings. We're always dying a little bit. So why don't we make the best to transform while you're still in the living? So that you can evolve while you're still in your material, you're still in this physical form. You can evolve and just keep evolving and enjoying life to the fullest. Because when it's time for you to cross, it's like, oh, here I am. And it's interesting how what you take from here transports to where you're going. Now people ask me this, well, yeah, but what about somebody who's ridden with disease? Do they take that disease with them? And I said, not if there's enough family, enough love surrounding that being to generate more love to keep remembering. And my motto is this, forget what you know, remember what you forgot. So while they're in that state of grace, we're helping them to remember who they are. Remember where you came from, where you're going. And that makes their flight a lot easier. A lot easier. So they're able to transport easily. People do ask me, well, did they take their disease? Some do, because they need more lessons on the other side to be taught, to be learned. But there, most of the time I say they survived their death. They survived their death. Wow, you survived their death. That means they've evolved to where they can just step in. And here I am, you know. That's the way it is. Also, it's interesting to die in the way that we see it in our culture. It's about transporting to a different country. It's like when you get on the plane and you're saying goodbye, everyone, I'll see you when I see you. And you get on the plane and as soon you get up higher and higher in altitude and it seems something happens in your brain, it's like all of a sudden you get sleepy, you start feeling a different way. And then you land to your destination and you're in a different country. And you're like, oh wow, this is exciting, wow, oh my goodness, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I wanna do this. And you still remember the loved ones that you left. But you're so busy in this new country that you're excited to experience, to explore. And then you've got what I call soul dwellers. They're the ones, we all come, by the way, we all come into this world with two soul dwellers. One to your left, one to your right. We can call them guardians, we can call them the spirit animals, but they are spirits that help us. Now, this is interesting. They only help us when we ask them, because they lay dormant, because we have a free will. And they are not allowed to intrude on our free will. But if you say, hey, wake up, help me out here. They're like, oh, wow, I've got an assignment. I'm on, let's do this. Okay, where do you want to go? And what protection do you need? And who do you want to talk to? Let's do it. So we're not here alone, and we're not here to do this life alone. Life integrates into new life. Life begets life. In our native ways, indigenous ways, it's always about taking that walk. Life into new life. So this dance that I do, it's called Dance of the Ego Death. And it was taught to me by my grandmother. Long time ago she taught me, and she gave me permission to intertwine traditional ways with shamanic ways. Dance of the ego death, you think about it. Because that's truly what you want to die away. Because when you die away the ego, then all of a sudden you can really celebrate your soul. Then the soul says, oh, thank you. I'm present, I'm here. But the ego is like, no, you don't want to shine that bright. You don't want to call attention to yourself. No, you don't want to do that. Or it gets arrogant. I know more than that. I can tell you a thing or two. Oh, yeah? So it's about dying away this ego. So in the circles that I do, it's amazing when I get everyone into a dance. We drum. And they go into this like a trance dance. And when you go into this trance dance, the ego starts to shed away because it wants to hold on. You can see it in people's faces. What is she going to do? Oh, yeah, this and that. You can hear. I'm a good listener. I can hear thoughts. So when you hear the thoughts of people when they're fear, you say, okay, you need to shift the vibration so that they can all feel a collective consciousness and they can feel safe. Because really, fear is about not feeling safe within yourself. So that when you sit next to the next person, you're like, oh, I don't know about this person. But when you have this strong sense of self, that's that spirit warrior we speak of. You have that strong sense of self, and then you're connected up. It's like, I'm a spiritual warrior and I'm going forth, and hey, what's your name? Hey. And then you find out that person is just as afraid as you were when you walked in. So we get everybody in a collective consciousness, the way they feel, and you should see the way people are dancing and moving. There's no ego involved because the ego has died away. When we're born into this world, we don't have ego. We're taught it. We're taught. We're taught, and most of the time we're taught by our parents so that we can protect ourselves from harm. So that we can put up our guards, our barriers, protect yourself from that person, from that thing, from that situation, circumstances. Okay, I get it. But there comes a time when you need to just have discernment. You need to have strong discernment. You need to come from the gut. You know, the grandmothers teach this, that when your belly is sick, that's your radar. Something's going on. You're feeling something. Oh boy, I got a strong radar. When I walk into a room sometimes and I feel that the tension is really strong or something is not right, my stomach starts to hurt. And it's been like that since I was about, I think, 10 years old. And I would always complain to my mom that my stomach was hurting. Until one day my grandmother said, well, your stomach's hurting because when you walk into a room, you feel the tension, you feel the fear, you feel something that needs to be healed. But if you just go into a room and you're sick to your stomach and you just want to hightail out of there, well, I understand that's, your prerogative to do so. But if you are in tune with, hey, this is my radar, something's not right here. You know that gut feeling? And then you start to do what you do to clear it, to move it. I go into prayer, I go into meditation, I sit still, and I beam as much as I can. And it works. So it's amazing to see how you can transform negative vibration into a positive vibration. It's just that current, because again, we're all spirit, we're all vibration, we are all consciousness. And especially with this, there's a collective consciousness here. There's a vibration that's very strong in this room. When I walked in, the vibration was very low, dark, I have to say, and it was heavy. But now I'm starting to see it, where each and every one of you are brightening up. That's my gift to you, to brighten you up. And that when you leave the conference and you're on to move on to listening to the music, you're going to feel vibrant. You're going to be open to receive that language of music that you will embark upon. And if those of you who aren't going to the concert, at least you'll be able to walk away feeling good. That there's nothing to fear about death and dying. And the tools to be able to say, I'm the medicine. And you're all skilled. You're professionals, you're doctors, you're healers. So before you have your degree, you were attracted to this profession for a reason. You were attracted to be in this profession for a reason. Why? Because your soul was pulling you to doing this because you are healers. And whether in ancient times you were here before and you just have this download that's coming through, it's like the computer, the soul grid is like the computer. The soul grid carries your Akashic records, your archives. So if you tap into your soul grid, it's like, of course, the totality of the infinite. You're a part of, we can actually do that. We can actually pull, especially nowadays, from the invisible to the visible. And you can do it with yourselves. To download that information. To download with your intuition, with your gut, with your heart. And the profession you're in, working with people that on their bedside, they're transformational, I call it the transformational bedside, is very rewarding. In our shamanic ways, when you're asked to sit next to a person that is ready to cross, that is like the biggest honor you could receive. That is like such a beautiful, profound gift to you. So please don't fear it. Don't fear when somebody says, can you please be here? You want to be present, because it's like giving birth. You're actually giving birth. You're a midwife. You're helping somebody birth into a new. It's really about being birthed into a new. So it's an honor when I'm asked to sit next to or be with. There was this opera singer who was making her transition, and beautiful woman. And I worked on her for quite a while. She was going through cancer. And I remember I get a phone call from her husband and says, she's throwing us all out. She only wants to see you. Can you come? Can you come? I said, absolutely. So I get to her home, and there's a big sign on her door. It says, no one allowed except Eaglewoman. I thought, oh, that's so nice. That's very honorable. So I get inside the room, and she says, quick, quick. She gets up and, quick, quick, get inside, close the door. I said, okay, and she's got actually 6 children. She had her husband, and the house was full of people. Close all that noise out. Sit here with me. So I sat next to her, and she said, let's just sit together. And I said, absolutely. She says, they're so noisy. I can hear their fears. I can hear they're trying to pull me down to stay here on this earth. I'm ready to go. Can't they get it? I said, well, they're having a hard time because death and dying, especially loved ones, it's a selfish act because we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose our loved ones. We don't want to lose our mother, father, children. We don't want to. But what happens is when you finally come to this place of knowing that it's a soul and the soul continues, and that soul will be able to come back and visit the loved ones, then it's so liberating. So I sat with her, I held her hand, we said a prayer, we did our prayers, and the meditation was so strong that she just fell to sleep. And I just silently moved back. Her husband called me and said actually after I left, about 4 hours later, she had made her transition. So it's really nice to be able to be with somebody just so that they can feel the comfort and safety within. To feel safe, that it's okay, you can go. And it's not about speaking it, it's more about feeling it in your room, because like I said, when you're in that space between, everything is amplified. You can hear the next door neighbor, you can hear everything. When I work with those that are in comas, I've been asked to come to the hospital. There was this beautiful, she's still with us, beautiful, beautiful girl. She was about 20 at the time. She got into a very fatal accident, a very awful, horrific accident, car accident. So they called upon me because they knew that I can communicate telepathically. And so they called me in to speak with her. She was in a coma. I sat next to her and I began to speak with her telepathically. And she was like, oh, all of a sudden you could feel her spirit wake up. Like, oh, you can hear me. You can talk to me. And so I communicated with her, and she was showing me her dog. She was telling me about her dog. She was telling me about her father, about her mother. And she didn't tell me about the accident. It was interesting. She only told me of the memories of when she was in high school, her boyfriend. She was showing me all of this and communicating all about her life. I thought this was fascinating. Okay, keep going. And then she says, you want to see where I am? I said, yes, I want to see where you are. This was when I first started too, doing the work in hospitals. She took me to on this journey to a place. She actually opened a door. And when she opened the door, it was like a galaxy. I saw this galaxy, and I went and I stood at the door edge. And she went before me and she said, come on. And I knew that I couldn't cross that line, that I had to stay in my physical form here. just the way. And I said, I'll watch you. And she started floating, and she started showing me that she was dancing through the ethers. And she was actually combing the stars, the constellation, and there was all these lights around her, all this magnetic energy. And she was dancing, and she looked so beautiful. She looked nothing like what her physical body looked like laying there. She was free and dancing and beautiful. I said, oh, that's a beautiful place to be, okay. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to help you make a choice. Do you want to continue going further, or do you want to come back with me? Do you want to come back with me? And I opened up all that she showed me, her consciousness. I showed her her parents. I showed her all her animals that she loved, her horse. I showed her everything. And she just kept looking. And it was almost like I was hypnotizing her to a state where she started walking towards me. Walking towards me. And I said, okay, it's your choice. Do you want to come back? And she said, yes, I want to come back. So the process was she began to come back slowly. And I turned to her parents and I said, she's going to live and she's going to come back and she's going to be hungry when she wakes up. And they were like, really? How do you know this? How do you know this? I said, I just know it. She told me. And she wants, by the way, chocolate pudding. So have that ready for her. That's her favorite food. Yes, I know. And so a couple days later, the nurse came in. I was with her. And she started gagging and choking, and she still had the tube. So they released the tube, they cleaned her up, and she slowly began to open her eyes, and she looked around, and she was trying to find her words, and she said, I'm hungry. And I looked at her, and with the connection we had was so strong. Mind you, I didn't know her in the physical. I only knew her in the spirit. And she looked at me and she gave me this big smile. And she was like, like we've known each other forever. Because we have, infinitely. And she started to move. Her hands and body, of course, she needed to come back because she was in a coma for a month. But she came out and she ate her chocolate, she little by little, she took it in the pudding. And it was so rewarding to understand that when you do go into the spirit realm and you are in that place of in between, that you do have a choice. You can either go further or you can come back and be of the physical. She chose to be the physical, and today she's a strong, beautiful woman. In fact, she does a lot of work with patients that are in comas, and she works with. She's a physical therapist. It's amazing to see how people are transformed through experiences of either it's a near death, or they talk about how they see. And like I said, I've been with so many when they make their transition, or when they don't. It's just about communicating, learning the language of vibration, learning to communicate on a vibratory level and an intuitive level, because we all have it. It's like a muscle. You just have to keep working it, and trusting yourself. And don't get that rational, analytical, ego mind involved. As my grandmother said, you have a wisdom within you that's very strong. And this wisdom that you carry, it's like the words will come through. You'll feel it. When you have compassion, when you have passion for what you do, your wisdom will speak through you. And the knowledge that we received, it's like it's the language that is given for our wisdom. So it's a fascinating journey, this life, this thing called life. And then it's a fascinating journey when we continue moving on. We call it the circle. the circle of life. And the circle is truly this way, rather than linear. It's so important if you can all just adjust your frequency to understand that when you walk the circle, it's so much more rewarding than just that linear. Because the linear is where there's so much fear and ego and all of this stuff that interferes. But walking the circle of life, and in our native traditions, we always honor the direction. We come in from the east. The eagle comes in from the east, from spirit. Communicator of the spirit world, creator's voice here on earth, coming in the east. And then when we travel the circle, we travel to the south, which is the purification, the cleansing. It's like rebirth, renew. And then when we travel to the west, it's honoring the ancestors, those that have gone before us. And then we travel to the North Star, the Star Nation. It's so interesting to see that there's so many highly evolved intelligence that are out there that, we think we're alone. We're not. There's so much Star Nations, I call them. And then we return back. And when we leave this earth plane, we go back into the east. We are born from the east and we exit. And that's when we're received in. Thank you, Creator, for receiving me in. Thank you, Creator, creation. And being here in the physical conduit, it's about anchoring, I say. I use this terminology, but it could be different wording. Anchoring heaven here on earth through me. So whatever word, anchoring spirit, anchoring the universe, whatever words feel comfortable to you. That's why it's, in working with people that are atheists or people that don't believe, I love when they come to see me. Because they have all the questions. But yet I say, why don't you just experience me? Experience something beyond what you know. And I'm not here to convert you into any religion. But in our culture, in our indigenous ways, everything is spirit. Everything. We're all interconnected. We all have a vibration. We all bleed. We all have this spirit connection first. And when you understand that, then the world is a lot better place than to be so segregated in the way that it's become. And we work with the honor system, honoring who you are, first and foremost, and then honoring others. And being able to honor others' differences of opinions. Don't you love it when you're speaking to someone or you're having a conversation and I know, because I can hear their thoughts, it's like they can't wait to come back with something. They're not even listening to me. But they're they're on the edge of their seat. I've got to come back with something to sound intelligent. Oh, no, you don't. You just have to be present because your wisdom will come in. As my grandmother says, the intellect is there to interpret your wisdom. The intellect is there just to interpret what you carry within you. So trust it and step outside of that, that stigma, that rigidness. So again, everything is spirit, everything is movement. And I have to say, you have lovely spirits, you have lovely souls. And yes, because the portal's open in this way, wherever I go, I open up the heavens for the portal. And yes, your loved ones are here. You definitely have loved ones. I see a brother, I see sisters, I see grandmothers, I see aunts. They're all like, can you tell them I'm here? Can you tell them? I see a husband, I see husbands. So there are spirits here that are sitting next to you, or over you, or in between in front of you. But you definitely, mothers, I see some children that are here. So this is what happens when I show up. It's like I'm their bridge. I'm your loved one's bridge. And I am so honored to be able to hold the sacred space for all of you. And as we say, I'll be dreaming you. And it's true, because my medicine is about dream walking. And most of my healing is done through dream time. I'll wake up in the morning and I am so exhausted at times. I think, wow, I just ran a marathon. What did I just do? And I remember, oh yeah, I went to that person. I went to this person. I healed that one. I did this. I did that. And remember, this healing always comes with somebody's permission. You always have to get somebody's permission in order to heal them, because if I'm just putting myself on you and saying, oh, you've got this, this, and this, and I want to heal, and then you say, wait, mind your own business. I didn't ask you. I've seen some intuitives and mediums that will go into a room and say, oh, you've got this disease, you've got that, you've got this. And in our culture, we're not allowed to do that. In medicine ways, we're not allowed to, because it's an honor of integrity and respect. Because you might want to hold on to your disease, or not. You might want, and you might need it for reasons of becoming enlightened. And that happens. People ask, well, how come some heal and others don't? Well, some heal, everyone heals on some level. Everyone. But some heal on the physical plane, for purpose, of course. Like Helen. She's got a lot of work to do here. But there are some that say, okay, I'm ready. And so they get disease, and before you know it, they make their transition. But on some level, they're still living. It's not just because you don't see them in their physical, doesn't mean that they're not still present. Because you can't, I say love is the strongest energy. Love is so strong, and we are spirit, that you cannot kill love. That's one energy that you cannot kill. It's fascinating. You can't. No matter how many times people have tried throughout history, love will always survive death. And we are of this love. And when you know that you are connected up to this strong pillar of love, then your spirit truly lives on. And there's your legacy, is to always remember to carry a legacy here. And what is it that you're going to leave behind for your loved ones, for the person sitting next to you, for your colleagues, for your patients? It's what it is that they can think of about you, because thoughts are powerful, and all we're taking really is our memories. And they do fill us, by the way. When you're thinking of a loved one that has crossed, they actually can feel you and their vibration. I've tested this theory with my uncle. I tested it. I was thinking about him and thinking about him, and all of a sudden I had this vision to where he was busy, and he turned around and he looked right at me, like to say, yes, I'm here. So they hear us and they feel us with the vibration that we carry. One thing that's a very strong wall, talk about building a wall, is a wall of fear. So if you have a lot of fear about death or what's on the other side, then that creates a barrier. So our loved ones have a really hard time coming to us. They have a hard time because they can't get through that energy. Energy of fear is very dense. It's very thick. So it's like they keep bumping into this wall. I can't get through, because the person has so much fear. So I would say, relinquish your fear and just be open to receive whatever it may be. Whatever may be the communication. Do you have any questions at this time? Yes.
It's not black and right, but I'm not conscious. I've heard from some people that there's this belief that no one should die alone and we should be there to hold their hands. And I've heard other people say that maybe they want the family to leave the room because the family's moving on. Do you have any experience, any background on that, or is it just case by case, it's different for every person?
It really is different for every person, but I'll say this, that when you have most people that are making their transition like to have the room, it's like you have the room that's very calm and serene. And remember, they're so open to receive. I mean, they are. Everything becomes so, so big. You can hear everything amplified. It's so amplified. So it's about, I say, minding your thoughts, because they can hear your thoughts. So it's more or less about just keeping yourself very neutral and let everything come through and being there to hold the sacred space. We call it holding the sacred space. And allowing them to feel safe. That's the best gift you can give someone sitting next to them, is allow them to feel safe within themselves. Because if not, then they start to struggle and they start to bring more pain upon themselves. So as long as that is neutralized, it's so important.
What about those who have committed suicide?
Good question. That's a very good question. I've worked with many, I don't like to say many, but I have worked that have committed suicide. Interesting. What happens to them is they go into a place to where, I call it like a shadow land. It's like a shadow place, to where it's not purgatory hell, but it's what they took with them. It's why they committed the suicide. What pain were they in? So they are transported to this place where they're doctored. And it's like on earth, you have doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists. You've got these soul dwellers, helpers, that are there to help them understand their pain and why they wanted to escape the gift of life. And so they are definitely doctored. We call it the doctoring of the soul. So they're transported there, and then once it's convalescing, and so that they can better understand, and then they're transported somewhere else. But it's always about degrees and levels. So that's what happens.
Yeah, this is a beautiful presentation. I
Thank you.
felt through my whole body the vibration you were describing. Sitting here, so it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I wanted to also confirm what you just mentioned about love, the power of love. When you said the power of love, it automatically triggered me to think about love in a sort of calculated frequency of the word love. And the way we do it in my own Sufi practice, we just take it and I wrote it in Arabic and of course converted it, and I get exactly one of the essence of God, which is the strong going you, basically. So literally imagine taking a word that is not even traditionally in Arabic, when you compute it, you get exactly the frequency of the word love, which is just power. So it's wonderful. Now, the other question I have as well is that, let's say you have somebody who is in a coma, that's somebody you know. And we know that since most of this work is being carried over by just the power of love. And in fact, when you are really connected, that love will sometimes bring about healing for somebody. So basically, literally contributed to their being awake, right? But you haven't really asked them for permission. And you mentioned earlier that you really want to ask for. So in some cases, can you always really ask for permission? Because in some cases, you just don't have the opportunity. You can only just use your natural tendency to love. That's all you have to give, basically.
Most of the time when I work with, all the time actually, it's a telepathic, it's a cellular agreement that takes place. It's not like, do I have your permission, per se, if I'm working with somebody in a coma. It's more or less a frequency, a vibration. And if they feel this, then they feel safe enough to talk about it. Yeah, that's right. Spirits in.
Eaglewoman. Hi, I've worked with Eaglewoman for many years. My name's Nancy. And
My right hand.
thank you. I can hear a few thoughts myself. And one of the thoughts that I'm hearing, and I think it's a wonderful thing that you can share, and it's important because whether one is spiritual or not, shaman or not, doctor or not, what is a tool that you can share with all of us that we can use, that we can utilize? How can we access that way that we need to be able to help somebody, whether they're making the transition or not?
Excuse me. Well, breath is medicine. And in our native ways, in our medicine ways, we use breath as a facilitator, as a conductor, conducer, we use it. And in the practice, when you come to see me, you'll hear me breathing in a way where my breathing is labored to be able to stay connected to spirit in that way, to bridge the worlds. So when you're bridging worlds, you use the breath medicine, and in many traditions, you hear of it all the time, in the yogic traditions, in the Eastern philosophies, and Western, it's about the breath medicine. And so when you hear yourself breathing, it's about really going into that breath. And I have this technique where it's the fore breath. It's like sipping into a straw. And you sustain. And once you sustain, you're able to expand. It's like visualize expanding your wings. And then exhale it. And we do this on a 4 count, 4 times. And that's the connected breath to spirit, to their soul. And it's like you go in between. You can actually feel yourself. Let's all try it, can we? Okay. So sit up nice and tall. We need it about this time anyway, right? So 3 fingers below your belly button is where your life force, your Sikhan, your Kundalini, the energy. So from there, you just want to, first of all, visualize that this breath is your medicine. And it's coming up all the way through you. Every cell of your beingness, it's touching. And then you exhale it out. And you're connecting to this infinite circle of white light that traces back inside of you. And it continues. There's that continuous strong light. That energy, whatever name you'd like to place on it that makes you feel comfortable, I call it Creator, Great Spirit. We connect to this universal supreme consciousness and we continue to breathe. You always want to connect up before you even do any work. And then the vibration of the breath is important, the 4 count. So everyone, like if you're sipping a straw and you just want to pull it from in. And sustain, but hold up, just back a stream, and release. We're going to do it again, and here we go, 4 count. Sustain, sustain, you're giving yourself life. You're giving yourself breath medicine. Wings expanded. You're touching every person in this room. Exhale it out. We're going to do 2 more times. Here we go. Sustain, sustain. See your wings, your lungs expanding, your consciousness expanding out to touch all around you. And release it. Breath medicine. 1 more. This is the last one, but make it a good one because you're actually giving yourself life and you're giving your family, all those that are connected up to you. You become the hub when we do this breath medicine. So everyone that you're thinking of right now, you're giving life to, life force, energy. And here we go. Sustain. That's it. Wings have spread wide like the eagle. Soar with me. Liberation and freedom. And exhale. And there you go. It's just so, as healthcare, as those that are in, do what you do, as who you are, you want to make sure that you connect up this way. That is the formula, that is the technique, that's the medicine. Because you're going to give medicine to those before you walk into the room, before you work with someone. Make sure that you are filled with this life force, God force medicine. And then you can walk in and heal others and help others. But you have to be filled with this medicine yourself. So that's important to do. And another thing, I told you about walking the honor system on earth. And what we do when we're out in nature, when we're out, of course we pick up the litter, we do our part in the world. But I see people sometimes spit on the ground, and you know, some people are just, they're not thinking about it. But I start, when I see that, I say, thank you, Mother Earth, for receiving us in. I'll go up to a person and they're spitting, thank you, Mother Earth, for receiving us in. I think, oh, she's got a cookie. But it's a matter of being respectful, because you want respect, you've got to earn the respect. And you've got to earn respect from the elements. So being in touch with nature, being in touch with the elements, Father Sky, Mother Earth, Grandmother Moon, Grandfather Sun. You want to be in touch with these elements, because then we can do our part on this world, in this world, in humanity, by being awake to what's around us, the vibration that you're feeling. Yes, go and hug a tree, because the trees have such vitality, especially after all the rains. I mean, they're really saturated with a lot of life force. And take your shoes off, especially with conferences like this. Take your shoes, your socks off, go walk on the earth, on the grass. Thank you, Mother Earth, for receiving us in. So when the final time comes to lay our loved ones to the ground, we do say, thank you, Mother Earth, for receiving us in. And to the soul, we ask that you have a safe journey, and may love take you to those places where you would like to be in your destiny. Aho Mitakwasi. Aho. Thank you. Thank you so much.